The three treasures. The one gave birth to two things, and then to three things. Tao Te Ching. The three treasures of life are Jing, essence, Qi, energy, and Shen, spirit. Like yin and yang, the three treasures are distinctly different yet entirely interdependent elements. Unlike the energies of yin and yang, which permeate both the inanimate and animate worlds, essence, energy, and spirit are associated with life, especially with human life. They comprise the three fundamental levels of essence for all living beings: physical, energetic, and mental. The three treasures are regarded as precious gifts from Tao and natural legacy from life conferred upon all living beings at birth, and it is their relative strength and balance that determine human health and longevity. In light of their central role in philosophical as well as practical Taoism, we may refer to the three treasures as the Taoist Trinity. Along with yin and yang and the five elemental activities, they form the theoretical framework for Chinese medical diagnosis and therapy, as well as Chinese martial arts and meditation. Jing, the essence of life. There are three basic forms of Jing manufactured within the body. The first is blood essence, which includes all the various vital elements carried in the bloodstream, such as red and white blood cells and the nutrients absorbed from digested foods in the small intestine. The second is hormone essence, which comes in two forms: life essence and semen essence. Life essence includes all the vital hormones secreted by various glands throughout the body's endocrine system, and which serve as master regulators for growth, metabolism, sexuality, immunity, aging, and so forth. Semen essence refers to sperm and related male hormones in men, ova and related female hormones in women. The third form of essence includes the heavy fluids such as lymph and the lubricants surrounding joints and other connective tissue, synovial fluid, as well as tears, perspiration, and urine. The latter are primarily involved in excretion of waste products and dissipation of stagnant energy. These three forms of essence, along with qi, are called the four vital bodily humors. Essence and energy are intimately related. Qi is the general of the blood. If qi moves, then blood moves. Since blood flows breath, or since blood follows breath, it stands to reason that correct breathing controls and enhances circulation, and this indeed is a basic goal of Taoist breathing exercise. According to traditional Chinese medicine, natural immunity factors and resistance to dis-ease are found primarily in the body's vital essence. Here we see another clear-cut case in which Chinese medicine beat Western medicine to the punch by over 2,000 years. In Time magazine's cover story of March 31st, 1980, there appeared a detailed report on the incredibly effective dis-ease fighting powers of the newly discovered immunological factor of interferon. Interferon is not a synthetic product, as most Western remedies are. As such, it confirms the basic premise of Chinese medicine that immunity and resistance are natural factors manufactured within the body in the form of highly refined essence. Even more remarkable is the scientifically established fact that interferon is produced in the body by only three types of cells, cells which correspond precisely to the three forms of essence, which Chinese physicians have said all along provide the key factors of immunity. The first source of interferon is leukocytes. or white blood cells. This corresponds to the blood essence. The second sort of cell that has been proven to produce interferon are fibroblasts, which are special cells associated with connective tissue. This corresponds with the fluids associated with joints and connective tissue that Chinese theory cites as the second source of immunity factors. The third source of interferon is a type of cell called T lymphocytes, which produce a variety of interferon that works directly with the DNA master molecules in transcribing genetic messages and is therefore associated with sexual fluids. The Chinese cite hormone essence, especially sexual hormones, as the third major source of immunity factors. If ever there were an undeniable example of modern Western science confirming the findings of ancient Taoist adepts, this is it. Qi, the energy of life. A basic premise of traditional Chinese medicine derived directly from Taoist philosophy is that all forms of life in the universe are animated by an essential life force called qi. Qi literally means breath and air, as well as energy, and is the exact equivalent to the term prana in Indian yoga. Like Tao itself, qi is invisible, silent, formless, and yet it permeates everything. Qi takes many different forms within the human system. The most basic form is called wan qi, literally primordial energy. This refers to the original bursts of pure energy that occurs at conception and breathes life into the foetus of the womb, or the fetus of the womb. Wan qi may be compared to the potential energy stored in a battery. It begins to dissipate from the moment of birth, and the rate of dissipation determines one's lifespan. One reason that children are so much more active and energetic than adults is that they have not yet polluted and dissipated their original primordial energy to the degree that adults have. That's also why children don't show as severe symptoms of poor diet and breathing as adults do. They are still protected by strong primordial batteries. But by drawing on these batteries to compensate for poor diet and other bad habits, they accelerate the rate of energy dissipation and sow the seeds of chronic debility in adulthood. Wan qi may be tonified and enhanced through diet, herbs, proper breathing, regulated sex, and other Taoist disciplines aimed at recharging primordial batteries, retarding the rate of dissipation and thereby prolonging life. Another form of qi is called yang qi, which refers to vital energy in volatile, kinetic, active form. It is the sort of energy that builds in the body during the excitement of sexual intercourse and is released in a burst during orgasm. It is associated with warmth, light, and motion. Yang qi is like the energy drawn from a battery in the form of electrical current. It is absorbed directly from the atmosphere when breathing. The body produces two distinct forms of qi directly from the essential nutrients extracted by digestion from food and water. One is called yin qi, or nourishing energy, which is extracted from the purest elements of digestion and energizes organs, glands, nerves, bones, and all vital tissues. The other type is wi qi, or productive or protective energy, which is produced from the coarser byproducts of digestion. It circulates across the body or just below the skin, protecting the entire organism from invasion by extremes of environmental energy such as heat, cold, dryness, wind, etc. When it moves, it feels somewhat like warm water spreading over the surface of the body. When the qi of earth extracted from food and water meets with the qi of heaven absorbed from air, they blend in the bloodstream, to form the unique variety of vital energy that gives life to human systems. That's why diet and breathing are so fundamental and complementary approaches in cultivating health and longevity. They are our primary sources of vital energy. According to the Yellow Emperor's Classic, quote, the myriad elements all or the myriad ailments all begin with energy. The moment there is energy imbalance, an ailment might occur. Despite its central role in the Taoist trinity of essence, energy and spirit, qi remains the biggest stumbling block for Western students of traditional Chinese medicine. Although Western scientists have no trouble dealing with radar, radio, and gamma rays, ultraviolet light, electricity, and other invisible forms of energy, they buck like wild horses when told that similar cosmic currents flow through and control the human system. In order to bring this crucial point into clear focus for Western minds, we must devote a few pages here to a thorough exploration of the subject of qi from a Western scientific viewpoint. Since there exists no equivalent term in English for qi or prana, we shall refer to it as bionic or bioelectric energy. This combines the idea of living energy uniquely associated with living organisms, bio, with that of electricity, electric, and negatively charged ions, ionic, which, as we shall see below, comprise the essential nature of qi. Qi, with a capital C, refers to the sum total of all energy in the cosmos, including gravity, magnetism, electricity, solar energy, radio waves, and so forth. When we speak of it with a small c, we refer specifically to the bionic energy that fuels living organisms. Qi, capital C, is to the living organism what electricity is to a computer. Without it, the whole complex mechanism grinds to a halt immediately. And in the case of living organisms, the polarity of yin and yang establishes the dynamic force field required to move qi, much as positive and negative polarities cause electric currents to move. The dynamics of yin and yang keep qi in constant motion, both in the external environment and within the human system. When the level of bionic energy in the body is diminished, the entire organism loses vitality and becomes vulnerable to dis-ease, debility, and premature death. In de Hufflin's The Art of Prolonging the Life of Man, published in France in 1838, we find qi described as follows, quote, a careful study of the phenomena of the vital force in the organized world leads us to recognize in it the following properties and laws. The vital force is the most subtle, most penetrating, most invisible agent we have known until now in nature. In this respect, it surpasses even light, electricity, and magnetism, with which, in other respects, it seems to have the greatest analogy. We find a striking analogy between the vital force and magnetism. The life force can exist in a free or latent state, and in this respect has a close analogy to heat and electricity, unquote. The French, it seems, have a particular affinity for the notion of qi. Consider, for example, this statement by Dr. J. Below, quote, when we consider organic life in the light of biophysics, we find that electric phenomena are at the root of all cellular life, and we conclude that the end of everything is an electric charge, unquote. Dr. René Allendy came to a similar conclusions. Quote, in the past, medicine and biology saw life as a simple chemical reaction, that is to say, a completely mechanical exchange of atoms and molecules. Though this is still true, we can today interpret it more exactly, for we now understand that these exchanges depend on an electric potential so that the essence of this phenomenon is moved from the atom to the electron, unquote. This of course is precisely what Taoist adepts have been saying for 3,000 years, that all life ultimately depends on qi, bionic energy, and that all vital functions ultimately depend on qi in the vital organs, joints, nerves, blood, and all bodily tissues. The way to retard aging and prevent dis-ease is to regularly recharge the bodily tissues with fresh supplies of pure qi derived from fresh food, fresh water, fresh air, and a healthy sex life. While biochemical processes are important for health, they in turn rely entirely on sufficient levels of bioelectric energy to spark and fuel their functions. The human energy system is strongly influenced by the various types of environmental energy, especially weather conditions, which the Chinese aptly call tianqi, or celestial energy. Man and all other living things stand between the positive yang pole of heaven and the negative yin pole of earth and the celestial energy. The Chinese have recognized the intimate relationship between atmospheric conditions and human health for millennia, but Western science is only beginning to unravel this mystery. This brings us to the key issue of air pollution, or electromagnetic pollution. In March of 1968, the French newspaper Le Monde reported that the presence of negative ions in the air we breathe facilitates the absorption of oxygen and elimination of carbon dioxide in the alveoli of the lungs, whereas positive ions have the reverse effect. Toxic gases, dust, chemical fumes, and so forth all take the form of positive ions when released into the atmosphere. And these big, spongy ions trap and absorb the little light negative ions, leaving the air virtually devoid of vitality. Pure country air contains an average ratio of 2 or 3 negative ions for every positive ion. In cities, the ratio drops drastically to 1 negative ion for every 3 to 6,000 positive ions, or 3 to 600 positive ions, correction. Negative ions, or qi, are thus the vital difference between pure and polluted air, not oxygen. A healthy body can purge itself or airborne toxins, but it can do so absolutely, correction. A healthy body can purge itself or airborne toxins, but it can do absolutely nothing to compensate for a critical lack of qi in the air it breathes. In order to function, qi requires a strong electric field to propel it. In Taoist terms, it requires the dynamic tension of yin and yang. The prime importance to human health and vitality of strong electric fields in the atmosphere is just beginning to be understood by Western science, although Oriental mystics have realized it for thousands of years. Recent research in the United States provides strong scientific evidence to confirm the powerful influence of electric currents and electric fields on human health. The results of this research are reported in detail by Andre van Lysbeth in his excellent book on breathing entitled Pranayama, the Yoga of Breathing. Quote, "The importance of this principle and its application to vast fields become evident when we consider the latest discoveries of Professor Wartburg of Germany regarding cancer cells. When healthy cells are put into a position where it becomes impossible for them to breathe normally, cellular respiration, they pass into a state of fermentation and then become true cancer cells. The energy necessary for assimilation by digestion is obtained through the intermediary of the air, of the atmosphere, by means of an extremely complex electrical process. During this process, adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, which is generally or particularly rich in energy seems to be the carrier of this energy. In nature, the electrostatic field exercises an important influence on the respiration phosphorylation chain, during which the oxygen of air becomes, quote, active to a corresponding degree. The absence of an electric current is always a disadvantage and always has negative effects on the vitality of the human being and can even dangerously influence his fertility. The longevity of civilized man depends on a very high degree on the continual presence of a sufficiently powerful electric field. The most important physiological functions, cardiac activity, respiration, digestion, metabolism, etc., are favorably influenced and stimulated by this electrical field. A great many so-called modern illnesses can be traced to the absence or considerable reduction in intensity of the natural electric fields in big towns. Human beings who are forced to live in buildings or rooms with metal frames and which therefore have the physical properties of a Faraday cage, form which any electrical field is excluded, tire and are exhausted quickly. Unquote. Furthermore, modern urban lifestyles have strayed so far from the ways of nature that an actual negative field surrounds urban organisms. The journal Product Engineering, published in the USA, defined such devitalizing negative fields. Quote, negative fields. Certain spaces formed of plastic, like car bodies, can even produce negative electric fields, fields which reject negative ions and attract positive ions. Plastic furniture, as well as plastic seats, as well as coverings of all sorts, accelerate mental fatigue in the occupants of the room or the vehicle. Objects and coverings in polyurethane or polyethylene, for example, produce negative electric fields from 5,000 to 10,000 volts per meter. In a space completely enclosed by polyethylene, the negative field may reach 10,000 volts per meter, unquote. An article published in the January 1964 issue of Aerospace Medicine comes to the same conclusion, quote, clothes are important for the same reason. Certain synthetic materials produce enough electrostatic negative charges to repel the negative ions from the person wearing the clothing, unquote. So, even if you're standing on an airplane, or rather, even if you're standing on an alpine mountain, breathing the best air on earth, you won't fully benefit from the chi if you're wearing a polyester, nylon, or Orlon shirt and rubber shoes. If chi energy travels by virtue of electric fields, then how does it move within the body? It moves just as electricity moves through a computer, along well-defined circuits. In Chinese medicine, these circuits are called meridians, and they form a web-like network of invisible channels that carry chi to every tissue of the body. There are 12 major meridians, each associated with a major vital organ or vital function, plus numerous minor and exotic meridians. Acupuncture therapy manipulates vital energy via the body's meridian network, achieving two basic therapeutics effects: Bu, tonification, or San, dispersal. Tonification is caused by inducing energy to flow toward and concentrate in an area or organ where energy is deficient, while dispersal causes energy to move away from areas where energy is blocked and stagnant. Stimulation is achieved by inserting fine needles at approximate vital points along the energy meridians, by burning moxa, artemisia sticks over the points, or by using deep finger pressure to stimulate the points. Most Western physicians, however, continue to insist that meridians are identical with nerve networks or blood vessels, although this is flatly refuted by Chinese doctors. The technique speaks for itself. When a needle is properly inserted at the correct point, not a drop of blood is drawn, nor does the patient feel any acute pain. If you were to stick a sharp needle into a blood vessel or a nerve, you would immediately draw blood or wince with pain. So, the conventional Western view of acupuncture simply doesn't hold water. Dr. E. Biananzi, an avid enthusiast of Chinese acupuncture, explains the electrical nature of acupuncture therapy as follows. Some years ago, together with the date, or quote, let me rephrase this. Dr. Biananzi, an avid enthusiast of Chinese acupuncture, explains the electrical nature of acupuncture therapy as follows. Quote, some years ago, together with the late Dr. Dimer, a renowned electrologist, we carried out some investigations into the extent of human electricity. A highly sensitive galvanometer enabled us to perceive this electricity, and we found that the Chinese acupuncture points had a particularly strong transmitting power. It was even possible, by linking with a copper wire the two San Li points on the leg of the same person, and by amplifying the wave, to note the presence of a continuing current between the two sides of the body. Numerous observations were made which showed that with persons in good health, the electric charge averaged 8 microamperes. The figure for tired people was barely 1 or 2 microamperes, while the overexcited or tense people it rose to 15. It is fair to suppose that what we call life force, or qi, is above all this electrical potential, and that when we feel weary and say, my batteries are flat, unquote, the expression can be taken almost literally. Without seeking to reduce them to electricity, vitality and health show their presence by an abundant bioelectrical charge, by ion exchanges, and by the tension of the electrical potential, and the harmony of all functions. That is to say, good health depends more on the distribution and harmonious diffusion of these, quote, currents than is generally believed. The figure of 15 microamperes found in overexcited persons shows that they really live in a state of perpetual short circuit, or bursting their batteries, unquote. Here we see that the life force of qi is not a static substance like blood or neurochemicals, but an active force in the form of negative ions that is moved by the polar potential of bioelectric fields, i.e., by virtue of the dynamics of yin and yang. The identity of the vital force of qi with electric energy opens up exciting possibilities in diagnostic and therapeutic medicine. The acupuncture department of the Veterans General Hospital in Taipei, Taiwan, has recently developed a technique to detect diseases in various organs and tissues long before they become acute by measuring changes in electrical currents on the cellular level. Blending the traditional Chinese theories of qi and acupuncture with modern electronic technology, the hospital has achieved an 80% success rate in diagnosing the onset of a wide range of diseases before any physiological symptoms detectable by conventional Western methods, such as blood tests, stethoscopes, x-rays, etc., before they even appear. The tremendous therapeutic advantage of such early diagnosis is obvious. Appropriately, the hospital decided to name the basic unit for measuring human bioelectric energy the qi. Wilhelm Reich, the controversial medical scientist who referred to bioenergy as orgone, made a lot of progress in his studies of health and bioelectric energy before the American medical establishment silenced him in the mid-1950s. Regarding bioelectric energy and mental health, he wrote, quote, "We now look at neuroses in a totally different way from the psychoanalysis. They are not only the result of unresolved psychic conflicts or childhood fixations. Rather, These fixations are conflicts caused fundamentally, or rather, these fixations are conflicts cause fundamental disturbances of the bioelectric system, and so get anchored somatically. That is why we think it is impossible to separate the psychic from the somatic process, unquote. This statement accords well with the ancient Taoist view. The Yellow Emperor Classic describes the connection between emotions and energy as follows, quote, anger causes qi to rise. Joy causes qi to slow down. Grief causes qi to dissipate. Fear causes qi to descend. Surprise causes qi to scatter. Exhaustion causes qi to waste away. Thought causes qi to concentrate. Unquote. The next logical question is, if qi is like electricity and the body acts like a conductor, then how does the body store the qi it accumulates from the atmosphere? Here, the analogy to a battery is very apt, for just like a battery, the body stores energy in the electrolytes of its vital fluids. Electrolytes are non-metallic conductors of electricity, such as certain fluids, in which currents are carried by ions instead of electrons. Like battery fluid, the body's electrolytes accumulate and store electric charges as electric potential, then release them upon demand as active energy currents. Here again, we see the scientific validity of the ancient Taoist view that essence, energy, and spirit are intimately connected and transmutable. Essence, or fluids, stores potential energy, electric energy, and releases it again as active energy currents when the spirit, or the mind, commands it. To sum all of this up, qi is a form of bioelectric energy uniquely associated with living things, while yin and yang are the two opposite poles that make qi move. The body stores qi in the electrolytes contained in vital bodily fluids, or essence, and transports it when a complex network of invisible channels called meridians. When qi is full, the entire organism flourishes. When qi is empty, vital functions grind to a halt and the organism begins to wither.